Good evening, everyone. We would like to welcome you back to our Team Tuesdays webinar series. My name is Kristen Lenig, and I am the Central Field Director for Special Olympics Pennsylvania. I will be your host today during this webinar. My teammate, Haley Fuzak, who is the SOPA Marketing and PR Manager, will be operating the presentation. And we'd like to introduce our newest member to our team, our athlete co-MC, Brittany Thayer from Bethlehem City. Brittany is on her athlete leadership team. She is a health and fitness coordinator and is also a global messenger. She has competed in swimming, rhythmic gymnastics, and bowling. And she's currently training at home for the fall season to compete in long distance running and walking.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to serve as a co-MC for tonight's Team Tuesdays webinar. I would like to remind everyone that throughout this webinar, your microphones will be muted and your video cameras will be disabled.
At the end of our presentation, we will have a brief time for questions. Now, these questions should be submitted through the Q&A box for the presenter to answer. This webinar will be recorded and posted to our SOPA YouTube channel, where you can view later and share with others.
As you all know, the purpose of this webinar series is to connect with all of you and share helpful and motivational content to continue our mission. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight.
We are very excited to present Carol Wenner, a licensed clinical and social worker who is currently semi-retired from her private practice, where she specializes in mental health treatment for trauma and grief and loss. She will actually be presenting on the importance of creating and maintaining human connections, especially during this difficult time.
Also joining us on this webinar will be a pair of pen pals from Villanova's Pampa program who will discuss how this program helped them get through the pandemic. It is now my pleasure to welcome Carol Reno, whose presentation will explain how important human connection is and how it can affect our mental and emotional health.
Carol, can you hear us?
I think I'm good now. I apologize for that. As you all know, I have some technological challenges, so I apologize. I just realized that I needed to hit a button there. So I am with you now, I do believe. Are we good?
You are good. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, let me begin again by thanking you for the nice introduction, and thanks to Kristen and Haley. A shout out to them for their support and technological help through this process. And certainly a very heartfelt thanks to Special Olympics Pennsylvania and Claire Walsh Miller for the invitation to be part of Team Tuesday webinar series. I am very pleased to be with all of you this evening, and I'm excited to be discussing the subject of human connection. It's my understanding that we have a diverse group of participants, including volunteers, coaches, and athletes. And my goal this evening is to provide you with some insight and perspective on the invaluable importance of the human connection. The importance of the human connection cannot be overstated. It is one of the most critical and necessary components of our overall health. Our experiences of being connected with one another has a tremendous impact on our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And therefore, this is a very important topic to explore and understand. As you're watching and listening this evening, I encourage you to submit any thoughts or questions you might have, and we'll take time at the end to review these together. This evening, I'm going to focus on 3 primary areas of human connection. First, we are going to explore why it is so vital to be connected. Secondly, we will discuss human connection as an internal strength and positive resource. And finally, we will explore the quality of human connection. So let's get started. Why do we need to be connected with one another? The answer lies in human nature and connection. I believe I can sum it up in a very basic, brief statement. It is because we as humans are hardwired to be in connection with one another. By our very nature, our physiology, our DNA, every human wants and needs to be in association and relationship with one another. As quoted by Brené Brown, we are hardwired to connect with others. It is what gives purpose and meaning to our lives, and without it, there is suffering. Our need to connect is as strong as our basic needs for food, water, and shelter. It is important to understand that literally from the moment we are born, we have an intrinsic natural need to be connected and to feel safe with others. We are genetically and inherently seeking to be connected, wanting to establish positive, healthy relationships with others. Research has shown that when we have bonding interactions with others, we naturally experience positive benefits. Our brains release feel-good reward chemicals, which contribute to our overall sense of safety, acceptance, and well-being. One of these chemicals, it's called oxytocin, is actually known as the love chemical, and it can be produced through something as simple as exchanging a smile with one another. We know that when we are connected to and accepted by others, we have a positive sense of self-worth and confidence. I am sure each and every one of you have experienced these internal warm fuzzies when you spend time and interact with families and friends. And I know without a doubt that you all experience these feelings when you are together as athletes, coaches, and volunteers. You likely feel emotions such as excitement, happiness, joy, and closeness. And I happen to know this because over the last several months, I have watched several Special Olympics Pennsylvania videos from various virtual events that have taken place throughout the summer. And what I saw consistently in every video were countless smiles and numerous comments from athletes, coaches, and volunteers alike about how much you missed each other. You talked about how you cannot wait to be together again, and how being together, hands down, was the part of your Special Olympics experience that you love, cherish, and miss the most. Let's look at a few examples of what I'm referring to.
I'm here at Football Ice Rink, missing you. We are all missing your smiles, your love, and everything you bring. And we will miss you walking into Pagula for opening ceremonies. We'll miss you at competition. We'll miss you at Sports Fest. We'll miss you at the dance. And we'll miss you at Olympic Village. But do remember, you'll be back next year. Do your exercises. Wash your hands. Wear your masks. Keep your distance. Work hard. Stay healthy. And we'll have you back here next year.
I'm starting to miss all of you guys. You are my friends. And the ice cream and all my coaches.
I've seen many tears from athletes and coaches when you've accomplished something wonderful for the first time. So keep practicing. We're going to have another time when we can get together and compete, and we can cheer each other on to the finish lines.
Hey Team JCC, I'm sorry we can't be together, but good luck at the Summer Games and most importantly, have fun.
Hi everyone, it's Miss Amanda from Northampton County Special Olympics. I just wanted to wish all the Northampton County Special Olympics athletes and all the athletes across Pennsylvania good luck in your virtual summer games. I miss you so much and I wish we were at Penn State, but do your best, work hard, and we'll see you all next year. Take care.
Hi, I'm Alexa Holt from T.E.A.M. Boy, I'm gonna miss going to summer game this year. I'm gonna miss seeing everybody and seeing my coach, and I'm gonna sure miss going to babies and the creamery. And hopefully next year I'll be able to see everybody.
I'm Sunil Sandar from Chester County. Let's go Chester.
I just want to wish all athletes that are participating in virtual summer games good luck.
Hey athletes, I'm here working out right beside.
Isn't this the most telling evidence and genuine expression of the positive power of the human connection? Another point to understand about the natural occurrence of the human connection is that it is reciprocal. In other words, not only do we receive positive benefits, but we are also giving positivity in our interactions with others. The gestures of reaching out to connect with someone, engaging in conversation, sharing thoughts and feelings and experiences. This act of giving of your time and energy is every bit as beneficial as what you receive through the interaction. I think this point is important for coaches and volunteers to hear, especially given the challenges that we are facing as a result of the current pandemic. There is full awareness that the changes and adaptations to the Special Olympics programming have placed increased demands and challenges on your time. Everything requires more planning, more effort, and more energy. You have been asked to do more as coaches and volunteers. You may be experiencing increased fatigue, less energy, and lack of motivation. Under these trying circumstances, it can be easy to lose sight of and even forget about the positive benefits in going above and beyond to stay connected with your athletes. A critical part of healthy human connection is consistency and stability. During these times of uncertainty, it is more crucial than ever to stay connected with one another. Your athletes still need you. They need you more now than ever, and you need them. There is immeasurable goodness that comes through the relationships and bonds that you all have with one another. And so I would like to remind you, any amount of time, no matter how great or small, that you are able to invest in connecting with your athletes and with one another is absolutely a healthy measure toward your own self-care. You will be glad you took the time and made the effort to connect. It will likely generate some of those feel-good feelings for you and empower you to continue being a positive support and role model for your athlete. This is a good place to segue to the next discussion point of our topic. I would like to focus now on the human connection as a strength and a positive internal resource. As I was considering this part of the presentation, I was thinking about all of the athletes and the variety of sports that they train for and participate in. I was reflecting on the training process itself, which includes learning the strategies and the rules of all the specific sports, as well as thinking about how hard the athletes work to get their bodies in good physical shape for their chosen sports. They work to build muscle and stamina. They put time into practicing with their teammates and coaches with the goal of doing their best. And in addition to the training process, you have access to the Healthy Athletes and Healthy Habits resources provided by SOPA. All of these elements work together to create a well-rounded athlete. It is quite clear that Special Olympics Pennsylvania promotes a holistic approach to becoming a strong, healthy individual. There is an additional key component involved in becoming a holistically healthy individual, and that is your internal strength. By internal strength, I am referring to mental and emotional health. The term mental health is basically referring to your thoughts. Through positive, optimistic, and hopeful thinking, we gain improved attitudes. The term emotional health is referring to the feelings and emotions that you have. We all experience many different emotions, which can range from being happy, joyful, or excited, to feeling frustrated, sad, or anxious. All of these emotions are healthy and play an important role in making our lives more meaningful. So when I discuss mental and emotional well-being, I am referring to the thoughts and the feelings that you experience. And the point that I really want to emphasize here is this. When volunteers and coaches and even athletes are offering positive words of encouragement and hope with one another, they are making a tremendous contribution to the mental and emotional health. It feels good to receive support, motivation, and inspiration. And so it is easy to understand how one of the most significant contributing factors to positive and mental health is, you guessed it, the human connection. I would also like to spend a few moments exploring the physiological benefits of this positive internal resource. There are numerous body benefits in being in close association with one another. When we are in connection with each other, our internal systems experience a sense of calm, and the following things can occur. Human connection improves our mood, our thoughts and feelings are more positive. Human connection can lower our blood pressure and boost our immune systems. Being connected reduces our stress hormones and can regulate our pulse and heart rate. And being in connection can significantly help control our levels of stress and anxiety. The core muscle for internal strength is human connection. It's pretty amazing to think that all of these things naturally occur within us just through the act of connecting with one another. In addition to sharing the positive internal perks of connection, I would also like to review some of the negative things that can take place when human connection is lacking or absent. This is especially important currently because of the risks we are facing amidst the social distancing and the increased isolation as a result of the pandemic. When we experience limited interaction with others and we feel disconnected, we are vulnerable to increased risks for anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression are categorized as mental health issues because they have a significantly negative impact on our thoughts and our feelings. Anxiety and depression can get so bad that it interferes with our ability to manage our day-to-day routines. We may start to experience frequent thoughts and feelings of sadness, loneliness, and even fear. If you ever find that you are experiencing these kind of feelings, it is critical that you talk with someone about how you are feeling. And this is another time when the importance of human connection is absolutely essential. You may also find that you experience strange feelings of loss. And this brings up another issue that I would like to just touch on briefly, and that is the issue of grief and loss. We typically associate grief and loss with death, but we know that loss comes in many different ways. We are all currently experiencing an overwhelming collective loss in our lives because of the coronavirus. Without a doubt, one of the most serious and detrimental effects of the pandemic has been the drastic shift towards social distancing and increased isolation. Yet, despite the unwelcome changes that have been imposed upon us, our need for connection has not changed, It will always remain. Not only are we dealing with isolation, but the extreme interruptions in our familiar and comfortable activities has been difficult, to say the least. Our patterns and habits of easily coming together and sharing positive and meaningful experiences has been greatly compromised. And so it is easy to see how the combination of these circumstances could leave us in an utter state of loss and needing each other more now than ever before. I do believe there is one thing that can soften the blow a bit in all of this, and that is that we are all collectively experiencing this together. Therefore, we can more easily relate to one another and share our similar thoughts and feelings regarding the losses. This relatability can bridge the gap between the social isolation and our need for connections. Ironically speaking, the very thing that has forced a sense of disconnect between us is also bringing us together through the collective and mutual grieving process. In other words, we get one another, which enables us to form a stronger bond in our communal loss. And so this ends up becoming another means of a positive internal strength, which can contribute to building mental and emotional well-being. Let's focus now on the final area of human connection that I wish to share with you this evening, and that is the quality of human connections. As I have already discussed, the need for human connection is part of our DNA, and it comes naturally to all of us. So one might think that because it's our human nature to connect, that we would not really need to do much of anything to assure that we experience positive connections with others. However, this is not necessarily the case. The need that we have to connect is a very basic need. Therefore, if we want to reap the many benefits of positive connections, we must practice the art of connecting with others. It is like any other skill that we want to develop. We need to learn about it, understand it, and practice it. We've all heard the phrase, practice makes perfect. The more we do it, the better we become. And this is very much the case with human connection. We certainly know the more positive connections and relationships that we have with others, the healthier we are. Each relationship we have contributes to our internal reservoir of mental and emotional health. It might help to imagine having an internal holding tank inside. And every time you have a positive, warm, fuzzy interaction with someone, your holding tank becomes a little fuller. Your body stores all of this goodness, so you have a reserve of positive resources available. You might wonder what happens to this reserve over time. Well, we all experience days when perhaps we are not feeling positive. We may be sad, tired, or frustrated. Our mood might not be the greatest. It is during these times when we can dip into our reservoir, and it will help get us through the day. The more you connect with others and build positive relationships, the more you will benefit from having a fuller tank. Another helpful thing to understand is how personality styles play a role in our habits and abilities to connect with one another. I would like to talk with you about extroverts and introverts. Now, these terms may be unfamiliar to you. However, I am guessing that once I explain them to you, you will realize that you know exactly what these terms mean. An extrovert is an outgoing and very expressive person. This personality type is typically friendly and sociable, lively and energetic. An introvert is described as being more shy and reserved, and usually demonstrating a more solitary behavior. Based on the descriptions of these two personality types, we can easily conclude that it takes very little effort for an extrovert to connect with others. These are the individuals who are easy to engage in conversation and they enjoy being around people. They are usually quite enthusiastic and can often be the life of the party. Introverts, on the other hand, do not necessarily seek an abundance of connections at one time. They are content to be with their own thoughts and prefer to interact more on a one-to-one basis with others. Now, my guess is you all know people who fit each of these personality types, and you may have even thought about specific individuals as I was describing these terms. Based on these descriptions, one could accurately conclude that extroverts are more at ease with the human connection process than introverts. And although they find it more comfortable to connect and relate with others, we cannot dismiss introverts as being unwelcoming to human connection. Remember, we are all equally hardwired to connect with one another. The difference in these personalities is the intensity of their connections. In other words, it is quantity versus quality. So you see, an extrovert will connect with many more people than an introvert, but will likely spend less time getting to know others at a deep level. By contrast, an introvert will connect with only a few people. However, they will interact on a much deeper level and perhaps develop closer, more meaningful bonds. It is important to understand that one style of connection is not any better than the other. They're just different. So each means of connecting for the extrovert and the introvert are beneficial to their specific personality style. They will equally benefit from their connections with others. On the topic of having different ways of connecting with one another, it will be helpful to also explore the benefits of sensory and emotional connections. We are certainly living in a time when our primary form of connecting with one another is dominated through the use of technology. We have our phones and computers. We readily use texting and FaceTime, Skype and Zoom, and a plethora of other options to be in touch. And as with most things, there are advantages and disadvantages to these forms of connection. I am a firm believer that our advanced technology enables us to be in close, more immediate, and more constant connection with one another than ever before. And while I am very grateful for these benefits, I'm also fully aware of what we have lost along the way regarding human connection. And I'm referring to the sensory connection, which results in deeper emotional bonds. I would like to consider the example of writing. I believe it's safe to say that few of us take time to write letters or send cards to each other anymore, because it's much easier and quicker and more convenient to send a quick text or an email to convey our messages. And so in that, we've already reduced the amount of time that we are investing in connecting. The actual process of writing a letter or a short note is an act of connection. Think about it. During the entire process, the writer is thinking of the person to whom they are writing. While they are formulating their thoughts, they are likely contemplating how the recipient will feel when they receive the correspondence. The writer may feel a sense of satisfaction and contentment upon completion of the letter. You just feel connected through the process of writing. The recipient of the letter will undoubtedly experience happiness and an immediate sense of connection as soon as they receive the letter. We all know the feeling of excitement when we receive a personal card or a letter in the mail. Knowing that someone took the time to write a personal note, it lets you know that you matter, you are important. This is a true gesture of intentional connection, which enriches your emotions on a deep level. These deep emotional connections become ingrained in your emotional memory bank. Every time the writer writes and the reader reads, they will each experience deep and meaningful thoughts, and feelings associated with that particular human connection. So this brings us back full circle to our earlier discussion about reciprocity and the mutual benefits of giving and receiving through the human connection. The depth of this kind of connection is powerful and long-lasting. These experiences create emotional bonds which are also significant in building up those positive internal resources and filling our tank that we discussed earlier. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not dismissing the value of our technological connections by any means. I love getting those emojis in the text messages from our daughters as much as anyone. All forms of communication and connection are beneficial. And I am grateful that we are afforded the numerous options that we have available to us. But the emotional bonds that we can experience through purposeful gestures, which require more time, thought, and effort, will by far provide us with invaluable positive internal resources. Perhaps you will try to find some time every now and then to go old school and engage in the sensory connection process of writing a letter to someone that you wish to connect with. The benefits for you and them will be measureless. At this point, I would like to take just a few moments to summarize what we've explored this evening. If you take anything away from the presentation, I hope it would be these highlights. We are all naturally hardwired for human connection. It is one of the most critical components to achieving and maintaining positive overall health and well-being. Human connection results in reciprocal rewards. Whether you are giving or receiving, you will experience positive outcomes. Human connection promotes internal strength, which is equally as important as the external strength of being physically strong and healthy. Mental and emotional health are essential, a very necessary part of holistic well-being. Human connection is one of the most positive internal resources that we can have. It promotes safety, acceptance, and feelings of positive self-worth and confidence. And the quality of connections makes a difference in how full your internal reservoir is. Sensory and emotional connections are more meaningful and deeply ingrained. I know I have shared a lot of information with you this evening, and I hope by now that you are getting an idea of how vital our connections are with one another, especially during challenging times of social distancing. So where do we go from here? What can we do to promote the invaluable benefits of staying connected? In response to the current situation, one of the things we can do for each other is renew our commitment to be intentional about maintaining the critical presence of the human connection. These situations call for increasing positive support systems, and through Special Olympics Pennsylvania, you are already part of a fabulous support system for one another. You can offer one another assurance, encouragement, hope, and most importantly, connection. Remember, without human connection, the support system lacks meaning and purpose. Will it require extra time, energy, and planning on your part to stay connected? Yes, absolutely. However, the benefits are an investment in your own self-care toward becoming a healthier person, body, mind, and spirit. I recently had a conversation with Claire Walsh-Miller, and she stated enthusiastically, "We are back in business." And although that comment may have been in reference to the implementation of planning and programming, I couldn't help but think that at the very heart of Special Olympics Pennsylvania, the business you are back in is the people business. The pulse of this organization is deeply rooted in human connection, bringing people together, volunteers, coaches, athletes, and staff, developing bonds and relationships, creating experiences and support systems which yield lifelong benefits to all who are involved. You can see it, You can feel it. Special Olympics Pennsylvania does it well. And so I challenge you to continue to be intentional in your willingness to stay connected with one another. In closing, I would like to share a quote with you that I kept at my desk when I was in private practice as a mental health therapist. I believe it exemplifies the power of the human connection. It reads, "Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile." And that was a quote from Mother Teresa. So I thank you for your time and attention this evening. And at this time, I will turn things back to Kristen. I believe we'll take some time to answer questions or share any thoughts or comments that you may have. So Kristen, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Carol. It was great to learn about how vital making these personal interactions are and how beneficial it is to connect or be connected with others.
At this time, we would now...
Oh, Brittany, I think you got unmuted. Can you unmute yourself and start again?
Yeah, sorry.
You're good.
I may not have pressed it. At this time, we would now like to allow questions for Carol. You can submit those questions through the Q&A box, and Kristen will read them aloud on the webinar.
Great. So we do have a couple questions. I see a lot of people communicating in the chat. So if you have any specific questions for Carol, remember to send them in the Q&A box so we can see those really easily to make sure we ask those questions to her. So one of the questions, Carol, was talking about the act of connecting versus how you actually connect. So I think this also pertains to our coaches. You know, a lot of our coaches have a lot of athletes. They are usually with at their practices, a giant group of them. How do you connect with all of them personally and have enough time to do so? What would be your advice to the coaches to try and make the meaningful connections, but also connect with as many as possible? I don't know if that's quite the balance, I guess, for our coaches at this point, but just any advice you could give on that.
Right, and that is a it's an excellent question, and I think it's something that we struggle with again from a time perspective, but I think too it goes back to the point that I was making, that any level of communication you make is valuable. And so even if the coach is sending an email to a group of his athletes, you know, it's enough of a connection that they know that the coach is attentive and you know, is making sure that they're getting information that they need, or that they're just checking in to see how everyone's doing. And it's, you know, connections don't always have to be a one-on-one situation in order to be of great value. And so, and sometimes that act of being together in a group situation feels more empowering and more connected. So it's absolutely okay for coaches to do a group, you know, a group email, or set up a Zoom meeting just with his athletes. Because it is a matter of trying to figure out what's the most efficient and effective way that I can communicate when you are trying to communicate with a lot of people. So absolutely, go for the group emails and the group chats. That it's not a lesser form or of lesser value. It's equally important.
Great answer. Another question we had was, what are types of positive messages to improve our confidence?
Great question. And positive affirmations, that's when a little can go a long way. And it is anything that, whether it's a good job, you know, you worked hard, or even something like, I am so happy to see you. I appreciate who you are. I have missed you. Like, and anything that is a personalized message that just can let the other person know that it really is a heartfelt sentiment of, you matter to me. You know, you're really, I see how hard you're working. I appreciate all the effort you're putting into everything you're doing. just anything that gives a sense of empowerment and appreciation. So yeah, positive affirmations, you can never have too many of those. And you know, I in addition to watching the videos that I've watched through some of the virtual things, I have had opportunity to attend some of the Special Olympics events in person. And I've got to tell you, I hear the positivity all the time, even between athletes. There's just this constant dynamic of encouraging one another and you know, supporting one another. And when the race ends, they're all, good job. And you know, so those comments are just, they are just invaluable. Yep. And you can't have too many of them.
That's very true. Another question we have is, do you recommend any specific stretches to help release tension from stress so our mind and bodies feel at ease?
That's a great question, and absolutely, because I think we all can benefit from learning some quick strategies in this day and age, especially with the coronavirus. And so, you know, we talk about the importance of breathing, and even from an athletic standpoint, it's important to be able to have good, strong cardio. But there's a lot of value in deep breathing in and out, and it just kind of helps clear the body. And one of the examples I use a lot, it's called the 4 square breath. And so you kind of just envision a square, and so you breathe in for 4 beats, and then you breathe out for 4, and then you breathe in for 4 and out. So it's kind of like you're making a 4 square, which is a sport. But you know, so it's just that idea of taking breath in nice and deep, and then breathing that back out. Another thing that I recommend really is just very simple things, like you can do things like shoulder rolls, stretching. It's just like wonderful just to kind of stretch your arms up as high as you can and stretch your toes down in, like that idea of just stretching your body and giving your body space to release tension, because it's, you know, we can get into a habit of kind of tightening up and getting tense, and our bodies get tight. And then we get headaches and that kind of thing. So just some good deep breathing and just some good stretches and really, you know, that physical act of trying to release, or just some good quick strategies that would be helpful.
Wonderful. And our final question, Carol, for you this evening would be, what advice, when you kind of give advice for the coaches, what advice would you give athletes? If there are athletes out there on this call tonight who are feeling disconnected or feeling maybe lonely, not going to practice and seeing their friends in person, what advice would you give them to have those human connections?
Yeah, and so I think one of the most important things, first and foremost, would be to tell the athletes, if you're feeling that way, make sure you're at least telling someone that you are feeling that way, first of all, because it's important to share that with someone, so someone else is understanding how you feel. And even that is a good first step in getting a little, turning it more toward the positive. And so the other thing that it's important to do when you're feeling that way is to try and challenge yourself. We talk about shifting our mental focus. And so when we have lack of motivation or we're struggling, we pay attention to, like, what are you really thinking about? You know, you're thinking about, like, I'm just feeling sad. And so a way to shift that is to shift what you're thinking about. And so we talk about thinking positive thoughts. So replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So if they can just get in the habit of trying to, maybe they could make a list on their computer or you know, to say, what are the things that I'm thankful for? And what are the things that make me happy? And who are the people that I really love? And just things that can help them reconnect with the positive good things that they have, because we do lose sight of that when we're feeling sad and stressed. And so it's just that act of trying to reconnect with what they know is good and positive, and shift that thought to a positive state. Yeah, that was a good question.
The wonderful answer, Carol.
Thank you.
We do have to move on, so thank you so much, Carol, for joining us this evening and presenting. Thank you for everyone for submitting those wonderful questions. We would now like to move on to our second presentation of the evening.
I would now like to introduce Morgan, a sophomore at Villanova who is majoring in peace and justice with minors in political science and gender women's studies. On campus, she's involved with Special Olympics and Best Buddies. I would also like to welcome Christy, who is previously graduated from the College of New Jersey and has been a part of Villanova's Best Buddies program for 2 years. Back in March, Morgan and Christy were paired together through the Villanova's Pampa program.
Thank you, Morgan and Chrissy, for joining us this evening. How are y'all doing?
Good. Yeah, we're doing good.
It's very exciting to talk with the two of you on here, as I know this is officially your second time meeting face-to-face. Team Tuesdays has brought you together face-to-face, so thank you so much. We're so excited to have you. We wanted to start off by having each of you tell us why you chose to get involved in the Villanova Pen Pal program.
I guess just meeting new friends and meeting someone at Villanova.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was such a great opportunity to meet a new person to talk to and really just have another person around during quarantine.
Mm-hmm. Very important. I think our athletes can definitely relate to that, having those friendships and the importance that those friendships are to them in their daily lives now, especially during quarantine. Brittany, over to you for our next question.
How did the Pampa program help you get through quarantine?
I think for me, it's just talking to someone new.
Yeah, the opportunity to make a new friend and learn new things about Chrissy has been really great, especially the fact that there wasn't a lot of things to talk about. So the fact that she was a new friend, it was just so much more for us to learn and bond with her.
I totally agree.
And I know that we had talked before that you guys had some common interests that you found with each other through the Pen Pal program that you did not realize the other person would have those same interests, right?
Yes.
What are some examples of those common interests? Could you share some?
We're both big Disney fans who love being there, who love watching the movies, TV shows. So especially during quarantine, we were sending each other recommendations of the best thing to watch and talking about it.
And also baking. We love baking.
Oh. So you guys could have a movie and snack night together, but in different places, right?
Yes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Brittany, I believe you have some more questions. We'll go back to you for the next one.
Yes, I do. What has kept you guys communicating for the past 6 months?
Crazy that it's been 6 months. I think what's kept us talking is that we just keep asking each other questions about what's happening now, how we're feeling, just really being interested in the other person and seeing how everyone's hanging in there during this stressful time. And hopefully even after, we can keep this going and maybe in person. That would be really exciting.
I think with me is checking in on some other people going through what I'm going through too. So that's really helpful.
And it shows that, you guys first initially connected on some of those common interests, but now have stayed, connected and stayed writing back and forth to each other because, you enjoy each other's company and you're going through, like you said, 6 months. You can't believe it's been 6 months. So staying in touch with each other during this time and keeping up with each other's lives has been, it seems like it's been really awesome for the two of you and definitely a benefit of all this. Brittany, I think you have some more questions.
Yes, definitely. What has been the best part of the Villanova's Pen Pal program?
This is a tough one.
Yeah, probably something that they have to think about.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what was the question? I couldn't hear it.
Brittany, do you want to ask again?
Yes. What has been the best part of the Villanova's Pen Pal program?
Meeting new friends and meeting a new friend.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Just getting to connect with someone.
And I mean, it definitely shows. I mean, you guys are, you know, the best of friends, and you never even met in person, right? It just through pen paling, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's amazing. Oh, go ahead. Oh, I thought you were saying something. Sometimes it's amazing that, you know, you can be somewhere in one part of the world and someone's in another part of the world, and you never cross paths at all. And then you find so many common interests and someone that feels like they've been friends with you for years, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brittany, I think we have some more.
Yes, we do. Do you think you guys will try to meet up in person once when the quarantine or the pandemic passes? And if so, what activity would you guys do?
What Kristen said, Disney movie and banking. That seems right up my alley.
So I'm glad that you guys are wanting to meet in person, and of course, you know, once this pandemic is, you know, over and we're allowed to safely meet together in person, I'm sure you guys will have an exciting adventure together, right?
Yes.
I will say there's been some comments here that people have said that, you know, the presentation that we just saw with Carol, talking about the importance of human connection, that you guys are really putting that into practice. So you guys are sort of our example of the benefits of human connection and why it's so important. Is there anyone, could you tell us, you know, a little bit about just why, you know, you said you got involved with the Villanova Pen Pal program because you wanted to make new friends and make these connections. Was there a reason, a particular reason how you got involved? Like, did you have friends that did this before, or how did you know this was such a great program?
I did pen pals at my college, and I miss doing that. And then I'm part of Best Buddies at Villanova, and I received an email saying about pen pals, and I really enjoyed doing it at my college, and I want to continue doing that.
That's awesome. And Morgan, did you have a friend who did this before, or how did you know this was going to be such a great thing to get involved with?
Well, I had actually never done a pen pal activity like this before, but in Special Olympics from Villanova for Fall Festival, they let us know that they were looking for people to be pen pals, and I was ready to jump in right away because I was just so excited to meet someone else and make new connections.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm looking here in the chat box. A lot of people are just giving you guys some really great shout outs. A lot of people also interested. I think I told you guys
That's great.
It would be a great promotion of the Pen Pal program. Looks like a lot of people are interested in maybe being a pen pal someday, or getting involved with the program. So we will have to follow up with that and see if there's other ways that our athletes across the state can get involved. Is there anything else you guys want to tell us before we wrap things up about the Pen Pal program, or any advice you'd like to give any athletes about staying in touch with their fellow athletes or coaches?
Just really put in the effort to get to know the other person, and the results obviously will show.
I think for me, it's just making new friends. That always makes me feel good about myself.
Of course.
I
That's
know
awesome.
if anyone is looking to become a pen pal, they can send an email to athleteinvolvement@villanova.spo.com. I'm sure that'll be in like a follow-up, but I know there's a bunch of Villanovans who are looking to get themselves a pen pal too after hearing about how well this has been going.
Well, that's awesome. Yes, we will definitely loop back and share that information for everyone. Like I said, there's a lot of interested people on the chat box today. So you guys are doing really good promoting it. That's wonderful. I think it's great that you two have been able to connect through the Pen Pal program. I have been able to meet a new friend as well, my co-MC Brittany, who's on tonight. Brittany, we've met through Team Tuesdays. And Brittany, I know that you mentioned that Team Tuesdays was really important for you because it helped you stay connected with SOPA and with your SOPA family in general. So can you tell us, Brittany, how else you've been able to stay connected?
Well, one of the hardest things about the pandemic for me has been not being able to see my friends because, like, I'm a social butterfly. So I've been texting with my fellow athletes and coaches and participating in Zoom meetings so I can see them all.
Good. That's good. I'm glad you're finding ways to stay connected, Brittany. That's really important. And as we can see, you know, what Morgan and Chrissy have, it's very important to have those friendships, right?
Yes. I would actually like to be one of those people, you know, pairing up with the Villanova people and then comment in the chat box, but I would also like to be one of those athletes pairing up with them.
There we go. We have your first your first contender right there.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Morgan and Chrissy. Thank you for joining tonight.
Thank you.
We really
you for
appreciate
having
you
us.
coming on. Yes.
Thank you.
We'll talk more soon. Awesome. Thank you. All right, Brittany, we're going to bounce back to you. I think you're going to wrap up our call tonight.
Yes. This concludes our Team Tuesdays webinar. Our next webinar will be on Tuesday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. As a reminder, these calls are being recorded and will be posted to our SOPA YouTube channel where you can view later and share with others.
Thank you to everyone for joining this webinar tonight. Thank you to Carol Wenner. Thank you to Morgan and Chrissy and everyone for listening in. We hope you enjoyed our guest speakers. We will see you all again next month. But until then,
stay healthy and stay safe.
Thank you.